kind of crazy how this game, in retrospect, shares a similar when it comes to just the ratio of the screen itself. After I edit them, it shares a similar design to how the Pokemon Eternal Emerald videos turn out. I don't know if there's a ton, kind of talking about Pokemon, there's been a ton of ROM hacks that are being released. Some of the ones that I have played, most of them I have downloaded from Citra and played on the 3DS ROM because it's one of the latter kind of handheld devices that I've played, and that has been made, from what I can gather, that has been a part of the Nintendo DS kind of line of Game Boys, meaning dual screen, a Citra emulator. What that's emulating is a Nintendo 3DS console on the computer, and that was kind of one of the final versions of the Nintendo DSs that got released. So because of that, and because of how user-friendly the website is, and because of how nice the emulator itself is, it was only right to kind of exhaust all of the Pokemon ROM hacks that are on that website for that emulator before kind of doing things like playing Pokemon Moon Black 2, which kind of ironically ended around the same time as some of those Citra ROM hacks did for me, but it was one I had to go download elsewhere and obviously play on a Destiny May emulator on my computer instead of my laptop because it couldn't run there. Most of those ROM hacks ended at or around the same time for me. There's still, for what it's worth, a ton of other ROM hacks on Citra's website that I would really have no problem playing. There's one that I saw that it's always kind of looked interesting to me. It's that Pokemon WGU ROM hack, and it's like the box art for it on Citra's website is like the main character from Sun and Moon franchise, and he's got some sunglasses on. He's kind of like pointing towards the sky, and there's what appears to be either a Tyranitar or an Iron Thorns in the background. And the description for the ROM itself is kind of ambiguous, as is the case for most of the ROM hacks on Citra, especially. But it's in that generation. That generation is one of my favorite Pokemon generations ever. Those games are some of my favorite Pokemon games ever. The Sun and Moon generation of Pokemon games and their Ultra versions, respectively. So when I saw that ROM hack, the first thing I thought was like, "Oh, what is this?" And I'll have to get the name, but I'm pretty sure it's like Pokemon WGU. That would make it interesting. I never got a chance to play, but some of the main ones I played from Citra that I would highly recommend are Ash Z, Miasa Moon, and obviously the Ultra Moon games itself you can also download from Citra. I believe that's all that I have done when it comes to the Citra ROMs and the ROM hacks. Then I obviously started playing Moon Black 2 in my free time, but that was something I had to kind of go out of the way to get. Just as fun. Had to play it on my home computer, but all of those ROM hacks I would highly recommend. Pokemon Ultra Moon, the core game itself, I would highly recommend as well. Just because those games ended for me when they did doesn't mean that they would be the same for other people. It just felt only right for me to end them where they, Like in Pokemon Moon Black 2, the reason that ended is because of an incredibly difficult battle against Corliss, and how I was choosing to play. It would have been beatable, but it would have been a lot of work on my end. And there is a trainer like right before you get to Corliss that you can battle indefinitely. It's a Pokemon breeder trainer, which helps a lot and would have helped me level up to beat Corliss. And she only has one Pokemon, and the battle itself is really fun, kind of difficult, and really it helps when you're trying to level up Pokemon. I think you get money in addition to experience when you beat her, and every time you leave the area and come back in, she'll stop you whenever you pass her, and you have to pass her to get to Corliss. So the game was there to be had. I just felt like it was just right to end it when I did. Yes, and Moon ended after kind of a battle with my rival Hal in that game, and how it ended for me after he beat me. But I didn't get the traditional game over. Instead, the story kind of immediately segued into the next city, which is the kind of Asian-themed town with the Golden Bridge. And so after I lost to him, but didn't technically get game over, and how I lost to him, which was using Detect 2 times in a row with Sceptile, I felt like it was only right to end that. Ash Z ended for me after I caught Moltres in the wild. Kind of shocked the hell out of me when it appeared, and felt like it was probably time for me to stop playing that game as well. All of those ROM hacks I probably could have continued playing and surely wanted to, but I just felt like, it was just kind of an appropriate time to end them all. Pokemon Emerald Blitz is kind of like a speedrunning game where you have a Pokemon and it faints. You lose it forever. So because of that mechanic and the fact that it's kind of geared towards people who would want to speedrun a Pokemon game, I stopped playing that after I realized my Pokemon weren't going to get healed, the ones that had fainted. And I had many of them that fainted. Pokemon Emerald Blitz, the latest one I've started, is probably like the most fun ROM hack that I've played. That generation might be my favorite Pokemon generation. The Sun and Moon games might be some of my, as weird as it sounds, the Sun and Moon generation of Pokemon games are in my top 5 video games of all time, up there with Final Fantasy XP. But when it comes to Pokemon, the Ruby and Sapphire generation, I think, is most people's kind of preferred kind of rainy day, Pokemon stuff, choice, like I think if you ask most Pokemon fans what they'd want to play in a rainy day, it's probably Generation 3 or whichever generation of Ruby and Sapphire is. So I've started that ROM hack recently, and I haven't had this much fun in a Pokemon game, I don't think, ever. As a matter of fact, if I get done with that game in a timely manner, I might play it again. That's how much fun I've had with that ROM hack in particular. It doesn't require an emulator. The controls are very friendly, almost similar to the MGBA controls. It's kind of weird because the back button kind of doubles down as like a pseudo A button, which you have to get used to, but other than that, like most things, once you start playing, it becomes more